Welcome to the show today. Today we're going to be talking about how to accept who you really are and live with it. My guest today is Buck Angel, the founder of Buck Angel Entertainment, a production company that promotes trans male sexual wellness products and films, known for taking the subject matter of transgender sexuality and bringing it into the world. Award-winning films that have been shown all around the world and used in many universities to help educate about trans male sexuality. Let's give it up for my new friend, Mr. Buck. How you doing?
All right, my new friend. Right on. And not like we just got along so instantly.
We just
It
got
was
along
great.
so well.
That was so cool, dude. Right on.
Oh my goodness. I love your work. I love what you're doing. I love the educational piece, education around the world. And we talked a little bit about it before COVID. You used to travel all around the world, educating individuals about the subject matter. Tell me, how did you get into the advocating part of talking about transgender and just the sexuality and education piece?
Yeah, well, I started in pornography like 20 years ago. I created actual genre of trans male pornography. My mom is so happy. But that being said, from there, I got a lot of people saying what you're doing is really interesting, but I'm not interested in pornography, which is totally okay and great. So I decided that I could start to tell my story of transitioning from a woman to a man 26 years ago, and then living my life. And what's really most important, I think, part of the story is that I didn't have surgery on the bottom, so I didn't have penis surgery. So I live my life as a man who has a vagina, and so that's been a very controversial space to live in. And so I try to teach the world that there's different people out in the world, and there's different kinds of bodies and things, and we got to start to respect people's choices. And so that's kind of where I'm at now.
That's awesome. So how did you find who you really are? Like, how do one go into that space, because we are so filled with social media and we're always trying to be like someone else that we see? How do we kind of find our inner self and kind of just like find that space to be comfortable with it?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, especially because of the internet now, and especially because, I see a lot of young kids just getting swept up. I mean, I would have. I'm 58. If I was 20, I'd be all over that stuff, dude. But it's detrimental, I think, to mental health on some level. And so really, for me, what I try to do also as an older trans man now in this whole new space is talk about self-love. And that's really how come I am such a happy person today, and that I really learned to love myself, no matter that my body is not normal, I'm not normal, quote unquote, right? Really teaching this is got to be your first step in anything you do in the world. Is, do you like yourself? How do you feel about yourself? Because if you don't like yourself, you're not going to be putting out in the world what you want to put out, or you're not going to get back what you need. So I think that's really the first thing that I learned, was how to like myself.
That's really important. So tell us, how is it, man, this is a good question. How is it important, and what is important about self love? Because you talk about self-love. How important is that when you try to find the space of who you really are as an individual?
Yeah, well, it's 100 million times important, because if you're let me just use trans as a sort of example. We have to a lot of us medically change our body. So I didn't always look this way. I looked like a girl, and I had to take testosterone. I had to do surgery. But before I did that, I had to say, wait a minute, I'm doing this because I like myself. I'm not doing it because I hate myself. And these are key things that we must know, if anything in the world. So you hate your job. Why do you hate your job? Look at that and figure out, okay, well, I don't hate this job. I just don't want to be in this space right now. So really learning how to change those dynamics, and not always saying, I hate this, but this is not appropriate for me. And how can I? So that's how I started to learn to love myself, was to say, I'm never going to be a real man. I'm never going to be a biological man, but I'm going to be this kind of man. And it's okay. And then that really, find your space in the world. If I not say that more than anything, it's like everybody has a purpose. Find your purpose in the world.
Wow, that's really really important, to try to find your purpose in the world, especially like I told you, so much influence that we have on social media today, and so much influence is like, it's crazy. And I try to keep my daughter off social media, especially TikTok, because I want her to create her own identity as a young woman, and whatever she decides to do in her particular life. What was the challenges you faced during that transition into manhood?
Well, many 26 years ago, man, there was no social media. There was no internet, basically. I had to figure out even the doctors. I was the first trans man that they worked on. They didn't even know how to do it. I was totally an experiment. I mean, 110%. But really what that reflects is my authenticity and my desire to live in this space as a man. And so I had to find, because I got pushback, my friend, so much. I still do today. You're not a man. You don't have a penis. You're not a man. You weren't born that way. You're not a man. And I'm like, but what is a man? What do we even mean? What does that even mean? So I said, well, okay, cool. You don't think I'm a man? That's fine. I'll figure out my own space. But here's again what I'm going to tell the world. I found my own space. I get pushback every day from people. You're just still a woman. You're da da da. People are just going to have those feelings. You find the place in the world where you fit. You're not going to fit in every space. And if we're lying to youth, we're lying to people to say that the whole world is going to accept you. No, they're not. We're dealing with racism finally, dude. Finally, in this country, we are actually having the conversation. The conversation hurts. The conversation is hard for a lot of people. The conversation is still not where it needs to be. But what's happening, dude? We're having that conversation. And so I say it's pretty much levels, right? We got to have conversations. We don't all fit in every space, but what spaces do we fit in? And so that's how I think how I started to find my spaces. I'm not a normal man, but I'm a man. And then I found guys like you who don't care that I'm not a real man, but are okay with me being a man, right? So you just, again, find the people and surround yourself with the people that love you and respect you.
Yeah, I think most of the time when people do I call it the projecting out syndrome, like they like to project out and make other people feel bad about themselves when they're not comfortable about who they are as a person, and that's really what it's about.
So real, dude. You got it.
That's really what it's about. Let's hear what it's really about.
Right.
That's what it's really about. You know what I'm saying? I always found it really weird that somebody's really concerned about what somebody else is doing. Like, how does it bother you?
That's right. You just hit it on the head. And that's with a lot of things in this fucked up country. But that means, why do you care if I'm walking around this way? And why do you care that the black dude is standing over there? And why do you care that there's a white and a black person that are married? Do you know that we still have it? Of course, I don't need to tell you that, but I'm just shocked that we're even we still have this conversation, dude. But again, I live in LA, dude. Like, we're more progressive here. There's those middle places in this country that are holding on to this stuff, and they're not, we're gonna have to rip it out of their hands, dude. like, like this shit ain't gonna happen anymore. Let's move on already.
There's still, like you said, there's still a lot of work to be done in the space of discrimination. And it firsthand. I know it firsthand, especially being a black man in America. It is not hard. It's like a mental crisis episode every day, just dealing with the bull.
No, man, I feel you, my friend. My heart is there for you. Let me tell you this. I also really work with a lot of black trans men, and these men come from being black women, and now they move into the black male space. And boy, dude, you want to know a perspective that you probably should listen to? It's mind blowing. But now they live as black men in America, which we know are like the ones that are like the lowest on the totem pole on some, like, for lack of a better expression. But you know what I'm saying? Like this, you have to deal with so much as a black man. I know, my friend. I hear you. I see you. I feel it as much as I can as a white guy. But I see it, and I'm not okay with it. And so, that this is the conversation I want the world to have. Like, can we hear you, please? I want to hear. We need to give you space. My God.
I know it probably was a hard transition because you talked about your having this space of comfort, having good friends around you. How were you able to build up your self-esteem during that time when it was so hard, when it wasn't really the space like we currently like? I'm not saying the space we have now is perfect, but it's better than it was 30 years ago. I'm pretty sure you first started this transition. So how did you build up that self-confidence, if you will?
Yeah, I did it slowly over time, getting kicked in my balls. I'm sorry, for a lack of a better, you know what I mean? Like, I just had to deal with it. And I'm a survivor, dude. I'm not a victim. That's my mindset. I am a survivor. I will not be taken out. I lasted this long. And so I came to this situation, and believe me, I created pornography. Could you imagine? I got so much hate mail. People wanted to kill me, dude. They were like, we're going to kill you. You're the Antichrist. I'm just like, what? This is so crazy. You don't have to watch it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not forcing you to watch it. That's the thing that's so insane. And so, yeah, man, I had to really grow some thick skin. I mean, I now you can't penetrate it, dude. It's like it's armor. I grew armor because it was the only way to do it. And so what I mean by that is that I just took it. I took it, all of it. I took all the hate on it, and I started to wonder, what is this hate? And why do people hate me so much for just expressing my own self? And I realized what it is what we said earlier. People are internalize their own bullshit, and that it comes back onto you, because that's what it is. They're not dealing with their own stuff. And once you realize when people point fingers at you, it's their own stuff. It has nothing to do with you at all. Zero. So that's where I got this space where it doesn't hurt my feelings when people say things, because I know where it's coming from.
Oh, wow. I know that had to be hard. I know that was a tough one to do. And so how does other people's opinion affect your self-acceptance? How you accept yourself? Does that affect you at all? Or you just, like you said, over time, you built that little wall, I guess, just to block it out. But how did you deal with it, just in the process of just building up that wall?
Yeah, it was hard. I used to get very angry. I'll be honest with you. I would get angry, reactionary, right? Like that's just the thing happens to you. And when someone punches you, what do? You punch back. It's like a total reaction. Yeah. And so I started reacting to that, right? And I'd be like, blah, 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 blah. And I just started seeing how that escalated into this huge nonsensical space that I just wasted 10 minutes of my time arguing with some troll. Like, why? And then I started realizing, whoa, that's what they do. They pull you into their space, and it's a manipulative space. And then you just have to be very focused on, what is this going to be a conversation where we're going to actually have a conversation, or is this just going to be a troll, baiting you on to gaslighting you? So these are all this new place in the internet that you have to figure out, because people gaslight, they egg you on, they put you in a space. And then, so I just really started to see the difference between somebody gaslighting me and somebody who really wanted to have a really actual conversation with me. And so it's really, that's just maneuvering and being around and understanding how the internet works now.
Oh yeah, the internet is big on trolling. It really is.
Wow.
Do you think that the LGBTQ community made a lot of progress over the years, and kind to in regards of just educating the general public in general about their movement? Do you think they did a good job at that thus far?
Well, I think we've got a lot of rights. I mean, remember, I'm 58. 30 years ago, I was fighting in the AIDS movement. I lost all my gay male friends to AIDS. It was horrifying. So I've lived through some really bad stuff in my life, but I have seen our rights really progress. And really, in this country, we have rights now as gay and LGBT people that never existed before. But what I'm going to say is the trans part of the LGBT has really been very vocal in the last 5 or so years, because we have a newer generation of young kids who are trans and transitioning. And this has become a very controversial space, and like medicalizing children at 8. Are we okay with that? We don't know. I have a lot of thoughts on that, but that could be for another talk. But that being said, I think that we just have to understand that there's just so much out there that it's overwhelming. How do we learn from this? And how do we learn from this is by educating the world. So the trans community is doing that. But I have to say this, there are some people in our community who advocate for trans rights that don't necessarily speak for me. And I guess maybe I could say to you, so would you feel the same as a Black man? Would you feel like other Black men are speaking out and doing these things, but do you feel attached to all Black male voices? This is a question for you.
Yeah, no. I think that's for the general population in general. Like, if you're Republican, all Republicans don't speak for you. Democrat, there are certain issues as a Black man that speaks loudly to me, right? And there are certain issues that I really don't even care about. I'm just gonna be completely, frankly honest with you. There's certain issues I just don't care about. But when it comes to the issues of being a person of color in this in this country, all those issues matter to me, because they affect me, they affect my daughter, they affect my brothers
Right.
and my other family members. And
Hmm.
when you see those oppressions, it really hurts. I mean,
Yeah,
you can't tell somebody to get over something when they still live in it. It's
that's right.
weird that somebody would tell you that, oh, just get over it. It happened 400 years ago. Yeah, but I'm still here.
I'm not laughing at. I just
Yeah, but I'm still
the
here.
awe, shock and awe of
Right.
like people just saying get over it.
Right, just
Like,
get over it. Right, right.
yeah, right,
When
sure.
all the opportunities was afforded to you,
That's
it's
right,
hard to
my
tell a man
friend.
it's really hard to tell a man to scrap up his bootstraps when he's bootless. He don't have no
Oh,
he don't even have no boots to scrap up boot scraps.
that's
So
right.
it's just hard. And so that's why for me, when it comes to issues of discrimination, regardless of your race or regardless of your sexual orientation or your religion, I'm really vulnerable in that space of being comfortable being around anyone because I know how it feels to be discriminated against. So I don't want to perpetuate the same thing that happens to me to someone else because I
That's
think
right.
that's just totally unfair, and I don't like that feeling, and I don't want that feeling for anyone else.
That's beautiful. Wow, I knew you were a beautiful person. I could tell that you have a huge heart. And so that question was to show you that we have a trans activist community now that's very powerful, but they don't speak for me and they don't speak for all of us. But on the upper level, like what you were saying, specific things affect all of us. And so this is the part where I'm having a little bit of a difficulty having people speak for me when I don't necessarily agree with what that agenda is that they're pushing. So I do think we've gotten a lot more rights, oh my God, across the table. But at the same time, we're still fighting with people who hate us and want to take those rights away, right? So it's just going to be like that until people start to look at trans people as normal, as Black people as normal, as gay people as normal. We're still going to have these sort of spaces where we have to fight for our rights.
That's so true. So, what advice would you give those who are struggling to find or to accept themselves in the space that they're currently in, like that
Mm-hmm.
transition? Like,
Yeah.
what advice you give those individuals that's
Yes.
transitioning from male to female, from
Uh-huh.
female to male?
Yeah, it's a really tough space. I think especially today, more than ever. I have to tell you that I'm so happy I transitioned without social media. I think that there's a lot of pressure to be this certain way. I think there's a lot of pressure to see what is trans, what isn't trans. So I'm going to say straight up, man, try to stay away from all of that nonsense out there and try to focus on yourself and try to focus on what you want to achieve and what you want to give back to the world and what it's your space. It's not everybody's space. So, it's a difficult place to be in transitioning today because you have a lot of different ideas and agendas that are happening and you get pulled in all these directions. But, really, and that's with anything. You're starting a business, you're doing anything, focus on what you want to do with it, not what everybody else wants you to do with it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you think after COVID relief and everything, you think you're going to be going back doing more educational pieces, going to
Oh,
universities?
yeah. For sure. I mean, I'm already getting booked. So yeah, that's going to happen now. Things once COVID starts opening up and all of that. So I'll be back on the plane flying across the world. I just was in Australia right before it hit for a 2-week tour. And I got on the plane on March 1st and they closed the borders on March 2nd. And I got home, dude. I would have been on Australia still. Oh my God, help me.
Oh, that is so true. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh
So I'll
wow.
be
We're
back
glad
on
you
the
made it
road.
home safely though. We're glad you made it
Right
home
on.
safely.
Right on.
So tell us how can we find you? Do you think there's gonna be a book sometime in your future that you're gonna probably do?
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely working on that now. But I'm more of a speaker than a writer. Writing is a
Mm-hmm.
skill. It's a
It
big
is.
skill. It's like acting or any of that. You don't just show up on set and act. It's a skill, my friend. And so that being said, yeah, I am right now, but I'm actually looking for a publisher and all of that. So I think it's going to come out probably in the next year or two, hopefully. Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you.
So tell us how can we find you? Tell our audience how can we find you on
So,
social
oh my God, I'm
media?
so accessible. Anybody can reach out to me. I'm very accessible for many reasons. But that said, buckangel.com, Instagram Buck Angel, Twitter Buck Angel, Facebook official Buck Angel, and just reach out. I'm all over YouTube. I have a YouTube, everything. Just put in Buck Angel, you'll find me.
All right. All right. Thank you so much for joining me.
Right
I was
on.
excited to do this show, man. This is like the
Excellent.
best one thus far.
Right on, dude.
All right.
Excellent. Let me know when it's up and I'll post it on all my social media and everything.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Thank you for
Yep.
joining us. Next
Right on.
IBS.
Right on, friend. Okay.